many places to see, but how do I make the decision if I go to a national park, and what does it mean if I go to a private game reserve? So I'm just going to give a little bit of an idea of what those two are different in. So if we're talking about a national park, then that is state managed. So we have 19 different national parks in South Africa, and they're open for the general public. So when you go, you drive there, you go to the gate, you pay your fee, you can drive in. That's it. But it is often in very large, expanded areas. It's huge parks, but during mainly like holiday season, so over Christmas, New Year's, etc., it gets really crowded because there is not a set amount of people that are being let in. So it can get very crowded. However, you can self-drive. So a lot of the other parks are not. Here you can, like I said, you get your own car, you get your tent, you go and you drive yourself, and you go explore by yourself. And for that reason, it's often low budget accommodation. You can bring your own tent, you can go camping, or there's other lodges around, lower entry fees, and you do have to remember there's quite strict closing times. So what they have, for example, you have to be in and out of the park or inside a campsite between certain times. So it opens at, say, 6 in the morning, you have to be back at 6 in the evening, for example. And you can only drive at their designated roads. That's the only way that they can keep it safe and also keep track kind of who is inside the park. And very well-known parks for us national parks are obviously Kruger National Park, and one that you might be visiting along the way is Soshanguve and Valosi National Park, which is up in KwaZulu-Natal. So that's the national park. What happens if you go to what can you expect if you go to a private game reserve? Private game reserves often owned privately or in a corporation, more exclusive experience because they're often a lot smaller and more concentrated. So for that, it's often a little bit easier to see the animals because there's not that much land to cover as for example, a national park. It's less visitors and less vehicles most of the time because they're monitors. They're only letting, they're not self-driven. You go there, you get a guide, you get a vehicle, and they will be the ones driving you around. And for that, those guided game viewings, they can also do a little bit different things. So they can take you for a bushwalk, or they can take you for night drives, for example. So they basically make up their own rules, right? They're more luxurious, often more luxurious all-inclusive lodges, have pools, have spas. They cost a bit more, for sure. You have to pay for that luxury as well. And you can only enter, so they're not open to the public, you can only enter if you're actually either have booked accommodation inside or when you go, for example, on a booked tour. Good examples for that are Krakagama or Pumba Private Nature Reserve, in case you're going there. So that is roughly the difference between if you go to a national park or if you go to a private game reserve.